Welcome back, folks. It's been a minute. Joe Spears, Kevin Bergsmith back with a double edition of the deep dive. Kevin is back because he's a new dad.
Yeah,
Congratulations, Kevin.
thank you.
Welcomed his daughter. He welcomed his daughter into the world. It was the night Vandy won, right?
Yeah, they
They
when
beat
they
Bama.
upset Alabama, we were having dinner on off of Highway 100, so we knew just in case, like it was a straight shot. And then about 15 minutes after Vandy pulled the upset of the century, she decided to come. So as we got in the car and started driving towards the hospital, I thought I have to drive through West End right after Vandy just upset Alabama. Like this, what is going to happen right now? It actually turned out okay. We got there. It wasn't that difficult to get through the lights. And then she came at 10:45 that night. So a
Did you see
little
the
over 2 weeks old
goalpost?
now. It's been a whirlwind and it's been fantastic.
Did you see the goalpost at all before it got dumped in the river?
No, not at all. I'm glad I got to avoid that. That
That
would have slowed things down a little bit for me.
Well, now she has a story that you'll never not want to tell anybody because that's amazing.
Oh yeah, I've been telling everybody. It's great.
It's truly she was so excited. I mean, she's got to be a lifelong. I know you're Tennessee and Florida State, but I mean, she got to be a Vandy fan.
Yeah,
Make it even better when she goes to Vandy one day, right?
maybe,
Um,
maybe.
so we are back. You were not able to cover game week 8. You had fatherly duties.
Yep.
Week 7, you were able to get out to a game, and then week 9, you were also able to get out to a game. We're going to knock out both of those tonight. You saw some really good private school action on the last 2 nights you've been out. We're going to start things off first with Ensworth's week 7 game. They beat First Baptist Academy, shut them out 35-0. General thoughts from that game? Another shutout win for the Tigers, who are undefeated on the year right now.
Yeah, a very impressive win. First Baptist Academy is from Naples in Florida, like South Florida. I used to live down there. I've seen them in person. When I was there a couple years ago, they won the state title game. So they're a very good private school. Hold themselves to a high standard. They put out Power 5 or Power 4 players. Seems like every year. This year's no exception. It was a pretty close game, pretty even. The score doesn't show that, but the score, like all 5 scoring plays were big plays. And other than that, the game was actually pretty close, I felt like. But regardless, it was a pretty impressive win for Ensworth to mercy rule a team from Florida that's state title worthy.
They got 3 really big name players: Jaden Pettit, Bradley Martino, a Minnesota commit. I believe he's an athlete, correct?
Yeah.
And then Logan Bartley, a safety committed to Kansas State. So, Division I talent, but they also took on an Ensworth team chock full of Division I talent.
Yeah.
Let's start off with those guys. Let's start off with the guy everybody knows about, Ethan Utley, Tennessee commitment, committed to Tennessee earlier in the year, chose them over Texas, Oklahoma, Michigan, quite the list. He's been on the national radar since he was a freshman. Everybody knows about Ethan Utley. He's one of my favorite players to watch, the number 2 player out of the state. Just a stud. Plays defensive end for him. What'd you see out of him that night?
Well, first thing, he changed his number. So it took me a minute to figure out, wait, where is he? What's going on here? Had to look him up. Saw that he switched numbers, so was able to identify him before the game started, luckily. Number 2, he's slimmed down a lot from last year. He looked like a D lineman last year, and this year he looked like defensive end, tight end. Definitely looks like he took conditioning very, very seriously in the past year. He plays defensive end in a 3-3 stack defense for Ensworth. He's a very good teammate. Like, he sets the edge very well. He's a strong player, strong at the point of attack, sets the edge very well, forces everything back in. He didn't really make a lot of plays, but he didn't have to. It's his job to allow the linebackers to make plays behind him and to kind of direct where the running back goes. And he did that fantastic. So looking ahead to him playing next year at Tennessee, him being a little bit slimmer, that'll help him get in the rotation. Tennessee likes to rotate their defensive linemen a lot, so he'll get some playing time, and being a little bit on the thinner side rather than the heavier side will definitely help him out at the college level.
His numbers may not pop out to people just because he takes up so much attention. He doesn't. I mean, he has 5.5, 6.5 sacks on the year or something like that. So he's racking up sacks. He's been a standout since his freshman year. Everybody knew about him. He jumped on the scene then, and every year he's gotten better. I think he's a massive get for Tennessee. I was wondering because a lot of Ensworth kids do end up going to Michigan. So I was wondering if he's going to go to Michigan and break my heart as a Notre Dame fan. Thankfully, he didn't. But yeah, going to Tennessee fans are going to love this kid. He plays with, I think he is a high motor. I do agree with you. He has slimmed down, it looks like, a little bit. Once he gets into a college strength program, though, man, good Lord. He's going to be a guy at Tennessee. I think he could potentially come in there early, play a little bit, but once he's there for a couple of years, he's a kid I think we'll see on the field quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Another big-time senior for the Tigers, is it TCU commit Sam Haley. Really love this kid. I think he's a lot of fun to watch. Standout linebacker for the Tigers. He had 3 tackles, a blocked punt, and a recovered touchdown the night you went and saw him. What did you see out of Sam?
So this is the second guy this year that I feel like is criminally underrated. Said it about Morris at Oakland. The last video we did. Haley, I do not understand why he's ranked 26th in the state. He is a fantastic linebacker. Again, he plays kind of inside backer in their 3-3 defense. Their D linemen kind of hold up blocks and allow him to just shoot the gaps and make plays all over the place. He works very well through traffic, navigates all that mess, and just somehow makes plays almost sideline to sideline, definitely like in between the numbers. But he flows really well. And the thing that I love about him, guys do not break tackles when he gets their hands on them. He doesn't miss tackles. He doesn't have tackles broken on him. If he gets his hands on somebody, they are going down to the ground. And from a defensive perspective, that's what you love to see. From a coaching perspective, that's what you love to see. I'm kind of upset that he's going all the way to Texas. I wish he would stay closer to home, stay in the SEC. I think he's good enough to play at any SEC program. But yeah, he's very underrated to me. I don't understand why he's ranked so low.
Criminally underrated. We got a lot of those kids in the state. I think I put him in the same category as a Brendan Ains and Eric Hazard, a DeWan Morris. These kids need to be ranked so much higher than they are. They're standouts. I mean, I whenever I get to go to Ensworth game, I'm like, all right, Sam's about to make a big play. You saw in the highlights that Chris was at the Father Ryan game. He got the tip or the interception off the tip. Love watching him play. He's a mainstay for why that Ensworth defense is as good as it is, and has been the last couple of years. So he's going to be a lot of fun to watch at the next level. How do you maybe see him projecting?
Honestly, I think he'll be a will. He moves really well. He's got the height, like he's 6'3", but like all these guys that we're talking about throughout the year, he'll have to put on a little bit more weight. But him making plays on special teams, the way he moves through traffic, I think he'll be a will linebacker. He can cover slot guys and definitely can stay on the field for the run. He'll be making plays in college.
I think the only guy we said that doesn't need to put on weight is probably Hazard. I think he's
right. He's college ready today. Yeah.
And I mean, Utley's going to put the muscle on, and it's going to be scary. One last Ensworth guy to talk about, and probably my favorite of the ones to watch because he's an explosive play waiting to happen. The junior of the group, Justin Hopkins. This kid's fun. I think that's the best way to he's fun on defense. He's fun on offense. People don't throw his way for a very good reason.
Yeah, he played free safety for them. They have I wasn't sure if it was their base defense or if they kind of did it for FBA, but they were in this 3-3-5 with 3 of their defensive backs were playing deep, like 3 safeties, almost like a standing cloud coverage. He was always onto the field side. they never threw his way. He was never targeted, never really had the opportunity to make a play on defense, mainly because the guys in front of him were making all the plays, making all the tackles, stealing the spotlight from him. But then on offense, he did have a touchdown. I think it was a 47-yard deep cross that he housed. He's fast. He makes plays. He tracks the ball well. The fact that they use him both ways, they know what they have on their team. I saw him last year as a sophomore, was excited to see him this year as a junior. Can't wait to see him again as a senior next year.
I think he's one of those kids we're going to see skyrocket up the rankings going into his junior year. He's picked up a ton of offers. He's got 5 Big Ten offers, 5 SEC offers. I believe Auburn recently offered him. He's good. He's very good at the game of football analysis. Yeah. How do you maybe see him projecting at the next level? He's about 5'11 and a half, 6 foot, 175 pounds. How do you see him maybe at the next level?
Right now, probably a corner. He's not that he doesn't have the weight to play safety, but his size is more indicative of a corner. And with his quickness and speed, he fits the mold of that a little bit more than anything else. I mean, he's talented enough to play receiver, but I think DB, outside corner, inside corner is probably where I would expect him to see, where I would expect to see him a lot more as a senior and then again in college.
Ensworth's loaded. Defensively, the Tigers are loaded. Who would have guessed it? A lot of great D1 talent. Coach Hasselback in his first year has got a plethora of weapons and whatnot to deal with. So, they're a lot of fun. I mean, I think this is the type of team that can make a run to Chattanooga. Team that could be standing in their way, though, is the next team we're going to talk about. And they're not in our coverage area, but I think it's worth talking about them for the simple fact of to get to Chattanooga, our D2 AAA teams are going to have to get through the Baylor or the Chattanooga teams.
Yep.
Baylor and McCallie, you got to see one of those teams last Friday night is Father Ryan, who the week before played Ensworth, hosted McCallie, and a McCallie team that was simply pissed off and coming off a huge loss to its rival in Baylor. They rolled 41-8 over the Fighting Irish. Hate saying that sentence. This team's loaded with talent. They have been the last couple of years. It's a boarding school. Kids come to play there, yada, yada, yada. I won't get into my whole spiel about that. They're the defending state champions. They played a classic last year against Baylor in front of a packed out stadium at Finley Stadium. What do you think of McCallie?
They're impressive. I expected a closer game, and just they came in and steamrolled. Like we talked about the previous game, it was pretty even except for a few plays, and they just happened to be scoring plays. This was the opposite. They came out and methodically drove down the field and scored. Methodically stopped the ball, got it back, went down and scored quickly. Got another stop, went down and scored. They felt like a machine. And then, like we'll talk about with a couple of these guys, they put their best players in positions to make plays. Some programs, some teams kind of stand somebody out at one position and they're kind of like locked in. This is how they're going to play. McCallie does. They move their guys all around. They use them in hybrid positions. They get very creative with what they do, how they use them, how they motion them around. Watching them, it's so fun to see like how creative they are, just putting their guys in positions to make plays.
Same old McCallie. They're a force in D2 AAA, and they have been, and they will be until things change. It's just one of those things. They're loaded with talent yet again. They graduated a ton, but they're still there. One guy that did not play that I have an interest in as a Notre Dame fan is Chasten Smith. I know the Fighting Irish are looking at him. Number 4 overall player in next year's class for the state, not overall. But interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens to him the rest of the year. I would assume it's not a season-ending thing that kept him out of that game. We'll get to the guys that did play. Carson Lawrence. This is a thing Nashville area people will want to know. Vanderbilt commitment. He's a stud at safety for the Blue Tornado. I've seen him play. Really like the way he plays. What do you see out of him?
First thing, he's tall. Like he's
Yes.
all of 6'2". You'll notice him when you see him, big number 3. Last year he played free safety when I saw him. This year he was up at the line of scrimmage, more of an edge, kind of this hybrid linebacker slash defensive back. Because when they would go trips, he would bounce out as a slot corner, and then even when they weren't out there, he was kind of a lot wider than a normal edge player would be. But he did a great job of setting the edge, kind of keeping everything inside. Much like Ethan Nutley plays within the defense, he didn't overextend himself. He doesn't put himself in bad positions trying to make plays, which then put his teammates in bad positions. He was just a smart player, did his job, kept everything inside. The one tackle that he made was when they went trips. They tried to do a little bubble screen. He absolutely blew up the player trying to block him and destroyed the guy going out of bounds. And then on offense, he made a few plays. He had a go route, tracked the ball beautifully. It was like a 40-yard pass. And then on a 3rd and 16, he was the inside slot receiver. They threw a little slant to him, and he took it like 30 yards, converted a 3rd and extra long, made it look very easy. So two-way player, big-time athlete, definitely looks like an SEC player. He's got length for days. I went into the game excited to see him, and he lived up to the billing.
So what you're saying is our Vanderbilt fans are going to love this kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Right.
It's like watching Baylor and Macaulay last year in the championship game. It felt like watching another level of football.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, oh, this is obviously future college kids all along the entire 11 that was on the field. It was crazy to watch. That's not disrespecting the kids in our area because we have teams like that. Ensworth, for example, when you watch their defense, I think, well, all those kids are going to go play college football. Most are going to. It's just a different level with Baylor and Macaulay right now.
It can be cyclical, especially in the private school classification. Ensworth had a 4-year run for a while.
Yep.
Brentwood Academy had a 4-year run for a while. Right now, Macaulay has been on their, a 3-year run, and Baylor is knocking on the door, ready to start their own run. So,
well, Baylor got there 2 years ago.
Okay.
They beat NBA, and then last year was the year that the city of Chattanooga wanted, with Baylor and Macaulay taking each other on.
Yeah.
So, personally, I think if we're going to get a team that messes that up, I think it could be Ensworth. I predicted Ensworth to make the championship, but the more you talk about Macaulay, the more I'm questioning my decisions. They got another standout. This guy on the offensive side of the ball, Keyshawn Snyder. I remember Keyshawn Snyder. He's a heck of a ball player, standout receiver for them. He's a guy. What did you see out of him?
So first thing was they moved him around. He was their slot receiver, then he's outside, then he's their wildcat QB. He's back in the slot. Then they're motioning him. They're doing little jet sweep passes to him. They're faking it to him. Then he's back at wildcat QB. Then they're throwing it in the flat. Then they're throwing it deep to him. He was all over the field, very dynamic. I love it when coaches try to get the ball in players' hands in creative ways. Sometimes it can be as simple as a quick screen. It can be as simple as a jet sweep. But the fact that I don't think he touched the ball in the same way twice. Every time was a different way. And that was just from a coaching perspective, that keeps you on your toes, because he's a guy that you absolutely have to key on. But because he's all over the field and they never did the same thing twice, it makes defensive coordinators go crazy. And with that guy, like, every time he touched the ball, it felt like he could take it to the house.
Kevin, good stuff as always. What are your thoughts before we cut out of here and go on about our lives as me as a father of 2 cats and a dog, and you a father of a new baby? What were your thoughts on Ensworth Stadium? You've been there a couple times, and Father Ryan.
Okay, Ensworth Stadium, I love. Like we said before,
it's my favorite.
It's probably my second favorite stadium. The colors, the grass field, the brick, the fact that it's kind of secluded. It just feels like a very small, tight-knit community. And I've always been treated well when I go in there. It's a great place. I love going to games at Ensworth. If I see I'm going to a game or I'm thinking about going to a game there, I'm always kind of leaning more towards go because I know how great of an experience it is. And then with Father Ryan, they have all the amenities. It looks great when you walk in. Like their home stands are crazy. I love same thing. The brick, like it feels very. It's not the same as Ensworth, but it's pretty close in terms of just kind of an aura when you walk up and the lights, and you can tell they put a lot of money into that place. It feels like this is a stadium. This is a great high school stadium. The home stands are very tiny. I had to stand on like the third row, which was the top row in the visitor stands to get a good angle to see stuff. But yeah, it was. I like Father Ryan a lot. Ensworth is like besides Brentwood Academy is my second favorite stadium in the state.
FRA has my favorite view.
Yeah.
Ensworth is my favorite. So we were actually talking about this tonight. If I were to rank my top three, it'd be Ensworth, FRA, and Mount Juliet. I love Mount Juliet.
Mount Juliet's great. Yeah.
I was just there recently. The sunset hit, the hedges are turning colors because it's turning, fall-y. So yeah, no, high school football. It's great, man. You don't get that anywhere else. So Kevin, good stuff as always, my friend. You will be at Baylor MBA week 10 week 10, as crazy as that sounds. You get to see arguably the best team in the state. So congratulations to you.
Yeah.
I don't think it's even arguable. I think they are the best team in the state.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see Baylor. Yeah.
Chock full of Division I talent. We'll talk about Shakai Mills Knight, Cam Sparks, and literally everybody else they have. So
yeah.
Kevin, good stuff as always. Congratulations again. Glad we got to talk. It's been too long, and we'll get back here next week talking about Baylor MBA, and then we're on to week 11, my favorite week of the year because I'm already looking at the games, and I am so unbelievably excited. So for Kevin, I'm Joe Spears. Thanks again for tuning in, and be sure to tune in next week for the week 10 edition of the Deep Dive. Thanks, guys.